I was getting all situated and waiting for another live stream that I watch to get over it. Sometimes it goes over longer than I expect. But I am so delighted to be here today. Today is episode 9. It is the topic self love. As you can see, my lip is still healing, but it looks like I got fillers. I didn't get fillers. I hit my face. Hit my face pretty hard. So there's just a couple things that I wanted to bring up. I know that I don't have like a huge audience, and I appreciate everybody who does come in and watch these live streams, and I hope that you're getting something delicious out of it, that it is giving you a little bit of clarity in some area of your life, or it is just an overall positive thing. That is what it's intended for, and that's what I'm here for. So the other thing is, even though I've been trying to go live at 4 o'clock, this week is a huge week for me. It's the week that is my resignation day is on the 31st, which is Friday, from my day-to-day job, and I am going to be going into full-time coaching after that. And so I'll have more time to dedicate to streams like this, and I might do a couple shorter streams throughout the week, but what I can commit to is doing one long form, which is about an hour to an hour and a half, starting at 11 Pacific Standard Time. So I think that is 2 Eastern, so 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And I'm hoping that that time doesn't like clash with anybody else. It seems like there's a lot of people that do evening streams, and I want to have that space available so that the viewers can watch their streams, or if they choose to watch mine, they can, and hopefully it will post sooner. I noticed that the YouTube takes a little bit of time to post, but it posts, so I'm really satisfied with the way that it is going, and I'm grateful to be on. I'm grateful to be on YouTube doing this. Okay, so let's talk about self love. So, I think for me, and I can only speak from my perspective, for me, self love is a self love is a little bit of a hard concept when you are highly empathetic, which from my frequency test, I could see that I was like, my empathy was one of the top traits that I have as far as emotional intelligence goes, is this really high level of empathy. And that has gotten in the way of me caring for myself. Good morning and good evening. So that has gotten in the way of taking care of myself and of being really present. And a couple years ago, when my mom was ill, she had been diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer, and it really caused me to review and look into myself on a deeper level. Not that I wasn't doing it already, but it just plunged me even deeper into it. Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. It plunged me into this deeper sense of who am I, what am I doing here? And I think the even bigger part of it was I still had this codependent relationship with my mother that I had to work on, which is something that I did end up kind of facing, and I'm still kind of working through some of that codependency. Why am I bringing all of this up? The thing that I realize the most as I'm doing this deep internal, honest review of where I'm at is that I didn't love myself. I operate in a way that I think of others ahead of myself. And with that, the empath is always going to have a struggle with loving themselves unless you're in that healthy dynamic. I showed you guys on the horseshoe chart, unless you're at that dynamic where you're kind of in this really harmonious relationship with what we would deem narcissist or what we would deem empath, unless you're harmonizing those in healthy ways with boundaries and all that, the more extreme you are on this horseshoe, the harder these concepts are going to be. Now, for a narcissist, self love is not difficult. They think about themselves first, and that is completely normal and okay. Hi, Jerusha. That's completely normal, and it's okay to have self love, which is why I say that empath has something to learn from the narcissist instead of being triggered or pushing back against them or and not learning anything from them. It's just healthier for you to kind of look on the other side of the aisle and say, oh my gosh, they've got confidence. For the empath, they've got confidence, they've got a healthy dose of self-love, they're ready to achieve their goals and all that kind of stuff. Can God help me win a bingo? I guess if he wants to, he can. That's not my decision to make. I did the same thing when I lost my mom. I cried for days, and now Mother's Day is very hard. Yeah, it is. And trust me, I cried a lot with the passing of my mother. She was my primary parent, and so I had been with her for, my whole life. And so to not have that presence in my life was really, really hard for me. And like I said, it was this interesting codependent relationship that I had with her. But I bring those things up because when we think about self-love, it's it's valuing who you are on multiple levels, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. It's it's putting yourself first, but not hindering what you can give to others. Because once you put yourself first, then you have this ever flowing cup of energy and love that you can give others. And in the end, I think the well intentions of the empath are to do just that. They are geared to serve others, but serving others at your own detriment is not a healthy thing because we are supposed to love ourselves as we love one another. And if we don't look at these multiple aspects of ourselves and make healthy decisions, establish healthy boundaries, and have compassion for ourselves, then we start to it's almost a hatred of ourselves to do that. So if you're serving others and you're not being fulfilled and you're feeling like I'm not getting anything good out of this relationship even though I continue helping these people, you're doing that at a detriment. You're doing it at a self-hate, almost a self-hatred of yourself, because if you can give that to others, why are you not giving that to yourself? I I like this analogy where, like, if you're drinking alcohol around your kid and they're like, "Hey, can I try some of that?" and you're like, "No, it's for adults." That kind of relationship is kind of what we're looking at here is, would you give that to your own inner child? Would you treat your own inner child the way that you're treating yourself at the moment? People do it all the time with their pets. They do it all the time with their pets. They'll put their pets ahead of themselves, which is sometimes okay, but if you're continuously flowing out of yourself the energy that you need to kind of do some self-love and heal, then what good is that? What good is that? So nurturing yourself and doing this for the best well-being that you can have is the goal here of self-love. Now, the last couple topics that I've chosen have been some really deep, shadowy, dark parts of ourselves that we're looking at. And doing shadow work is difficult. It pulls energy out of you. It'll leave you feeling like empty or exhausted. And while that is a normal feeling, we don't want to sit in that feeling because we want to be brought back up to this normal stasis, healthy level, or even above that. So I'm going to talk about some techniques. And first and foremost, I'll tell you about some of my things that I do to practice my self-love, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like it's enough. The first thing I did was I came to kind of this truth of me and my relationship with my job. So the relationship that I had with my job is I end up giving more to my job than I was getting. And so at the end of the day, I would come home, I'd be exhausted. I don't have time for myself. And then I spend all night struggling to sleep because I'm just so stressed out and peaked with the things that I can give, even back to myself. Some of the things, because during this job that I had, like I said, I was going through this acceptance of this grief process of my mother getting a terminal illness, and then within a year she died. And so now, like, it's been since she was diagnosed, it's been 2 full years. So 1 full year of me caring for her, doing basically adult care for my own mother, and then afterwards, after she died, of kind of rummaging through this really, like, this loss, this empty feeling that needed to get filled. Let's see. Robert says I would take out to eat out at restaurants on Mother's Day. It hurts bad. I don't care how old you are. My mother was my rock. On Mother's Day, I feel so lonely. I think you mean you cry. Yes, and I am not like taking that away from you whatsoever. My mother was also she was my rock. She was the person that I would connect to, and I'm merely using her as an example of how I discovered that I was not loving myself in a way that I needed. In fact, I was having a conversation that summer that she was ill, and I had a lot of time to think, and I remember sitting with one of my coworkers, and I was being really candid with her, and I said, I had to come to the realization this weekend that I don't love myself, and I don't love myself enough to like take care of myself in the way that I would necessarily take care of others. So that was a huge reality shift for me that I needed to come to terms with. And then now I'm going through the motions of how am I going to take care of myself. So we're looking at taking our self love being taking care of you physically, emotionally, and mentally, and also spiritually. All four of these elements are going to be kind of ingrained into this. So, the first thing that I would say is we practice self compassion. And how does a lack of self compassion come out? This is coming through negative self talk. Maybe you're flat out saying, like, I'm not worth it. Maybe you're flat out saying, I'm stupid, or some negative affirmation. I wholeheartedly believe that since our body is made up of water, the water memory in our body is listening to even the thoughts that we think, the things that we say. So when we think about energy and we think about memory, like these things are real in our bodies. So when you're telling yourself, I'm not worth it, I'm alone, I'm isolated, I don't have anybody, your body starts to believe it because it's holding those memories. And for those of you that are new to this concept, there are different videos out there on YouTube that you can watch about water memory. And you can there's even one where there's I can't remember I can't remember all the technicalities, but there is a an experiment that a scientist did, and he had some plants that he talked negatively to, and he had some plants that he talked positively to, and you can see that the ones that he talked negatively to did poorly, and the ones that he talked positively to did well. So this concept is not those are living beings. That's living matter. Plants are. And so the water memory is there. Jerusha says God can literally do anything, even heal your heart. He certainly can. And it takes us to walk in that as well. So as we're practicing self compassion, we're thinking about these negative things that we're saying to ourselves, and we're rewriting those. We're changing those negative self talk pieces, and we're changing it into something kind or encouraging, so that we eventually, if even if you like are hesitant to believe it, eventually you'll start to believe it. You'll start to believe, like, I am abundant, I am loving, I am kind, I am worth I am worth it. And as soon as you start changing those things around, the because like water is everywhere. I mean, I'll get crazy. We'll just get crazy. Not even 20 minutes in, we'll get crazy. So I I am a Christian, and I am a little bit more of a charismatic Christian than I think anything else. And so it's a little bit more like in tune with this spiritual aspect, where I feel like some religions might have they hold back on this piece, where I've always questioned it even from a younger age. I kind of hopped around from I wasn't raised Christian. So Christianity was something that was just sparked in my heart, that I was like, okay, I'm going to church. I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It wasn't anything, there was no influence in my family whatsoever to do this. This is all things that my heart led me to doing and to having a fervor for. So I I believe that there are verses in the Bible where it's like you are the author of your life. So the vicinity that you're in, the things that you see, the people that you bring into into your personal experience, those are all like serendipitous, or even like they call it synchronistic. So if you have these syncs, you're drawing that into you. So our atmosphere is like made up of all these gases or vapors, and there's water vapor and there's humidity in it. And as I was saying with the water, like even in our bodies, the water memory is there. So if you're speaking it out into the world, like it's even more powerful than just your thought. That word is even more powerful. So when you are declaring to be healed, when you're declaring to feel loved and to be loved, those things have a very potent impact because water is everywhere around us, even if it's not in a visible to the eye form. So, so in that, when we do speak with these firm declarations or these firm claims of like, this is happening for me, either way, it could be negative or it could be positive, and we're looking to being very positive and to creating a peace within ourselves, because right now, self love is physically appreciating your body. So, after I leave my job, which is a pretty sedentary job, the first thing I'm doing is I have to establish a new routine. So my routine now is wake up at 5:30 or 6, get ready for work, go to work around 6:30, 7:30, depends. And so I head into work, and then I work for the day, and then I leave, go home, and take care of my errands, and come home and finish working. So I have this routine, and I know that I'm a fairly routine oriented person. And so when I come back from to the next Monday, like my job is going to be establishing a new routine, which is going to be 100% dedicated to taking care of myself in a physical way, as many things as I can do. So it's gonna it's gonna take a lot of work for me to reestablish my routine, to reestablish how I go about doing that, but it's going to be, for me, worth it. And then as we're practicing that self compassion, the other technique that we can do is set healthy boundaries. Robert says, I drove around for hours in my Jeep. I was a good son to my mom. That's lovely. My son is so awesome, so I'm sure she appreciated that. I know how you feel. I'm very sorry. God will bless you. He already has blessed me, so, and he will continue blessing me, so I'm super excited for that. So setting healthy boundaries, and I remember going to courses and taking classes where they like set healthy boundaries, and it never really clicked for me of what they meant by that. They have this like formula of this is how you set a healthy boundary, and it never fully clicked for me of what is a healthy boundary. And as an empath, I think our natural inclination is to say yes to everything. And even though I dearly love my mother, she rarely said no to me. She was always saying yes to me. And it's a little frustrating to be shown and taught that it's hard to say no because you don't want to disrupt and have a fallout from what happens if you say no to something. And I think it's really valuable to analyze, why can't I say no? Why am I unable to say no to this person, even though internally, like, I want to say no and hold, like, protect myself that way. It's hard for me to break just because, like, I was around that. That was my parental teaching. And so saying no for me is a little difficult, but I am, like, doing the work to work on that. So anytime that I have a hard time saying no, I look in myself of, like, why couldn't I say no to that? Why did I say yes? I'll give you a neat example. So this past, like, right before Thanksgiving, I was scrolling on Facebook and there was a family that needed some basic things like eggs, milk, and something else. And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I can get that to you." And they didn't have a vehicle. So I now not only am I giving that to them, I'm having to drive it out to them. And I'm like, "Okay, well, let me figure out what I can do in my day and I'll bring it over to you." So as I'm, like, driving through their apartment complex, this truck backs into my car and then they book it. They don't even stick around to, like, remedy anything. They just leave. And I'm just, like, holding the bag of, like, trying to do this really nice thing for somebody, even though inside I could feel like that wasn't the day for me. Even before I got hit, that wasn't the day for me. It wasn't a huge hit, but it was a hit nonetheless. And but internally, like, I could feel like that wasn't the right day to do it, but I went against it anyways. So I think that instinctually and just emotionally, I can feel the knot in my stomach of, this is not the right time for me to do it. I should choose another time. But saying, no, do you have somebody that can come pick this up for me as well? Because now here I am, I'm, like, having to, like, book it out to your place when you've requested that. So there should have been a little bit of, like, give and take, and so that I had to learn a little bit of an expensive lesson there. So the other thing is, like, you can do this with your children. Your children can just, I know I did it to my mother, likely, is they'll ask for things and you'll have a hard time saying, if you have a hard time saying no and you just give in to them, sometimes that can kind of distort the child a little bit because now they're seeing you never say no to them and they want to see somebody with boundaries. They want to see somebody with that gumption and that love that they have for themselves. It's so interesting. You're talking about you're being a good son. My son is very much, he will say no to a lot of things. And so for us, it's like he'll say no, and then it's just like, okay, then I'll do it. And so we're having to have bigger conversations about, you're becoming a grown adult, you're moving into being a teenager, and so that comes with responsibilities that you will need to learn, including, driving and then taking care of the house or being at the house alone for a longer periods of time than you're used to, and taking care of yourself. So he's pretty good at taking care of himself. He's good at saying no and having really healthy boundaries around that, of, like, I don't want to do that for whatever reason. And then he is he's very compassionate. He doesn't say negative things about himself. So he has a lot of really good qualities that I find that I'm also learning from him. It's wonderful you're making positive changes for yourself. I am so excited. I was joking around, Jerusha, that God is literally paying me to leave my job. So, a healthy boundary is having an open conversation about the things that you need. So, somebody can say what they need to you, but the fact that you can't say something that you need to them, that is where it's unhealthy. So, I know that I have a lot of work because my empathy is really high. It's not an excuse. It's just this is a factor of having the frequency that I do have. And I will be starting to do book frequency tests here soon as part of moving into full time working for myself. Is I'm going to be doing, I actually got a tuning fork set and I am getting certified to do emotional frequency tests. And so I'm really excited about that. And I'll keep you guys updated with more information as soon as I get that all underway. But that's happening and happening quickly. All right. Robert says, but you didn't know you were helping people that need help. Don't feel bad. You have a big heart. You're a special person. I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I could have also listened to my gut of this is not the time to do it and waited for the better time to do it. So it was just an energetic lesson of listening and trusting my intuition of this. That wasn't the time. I needed to wait for a different time. Jerusha says that sounds like one of my sisters getting hurt while helping someone who doesn't care enough to do things themselves. Yep. And that it's, I don't want to take away from the empathy because empathy is important. However, being a doormat is not the way to do it either. There are healthy ways to be an empath with nice, solid boundaries and doing some self love. And we'll talk a little bit more. I've got a few more techniques. I only made it to two. 30 minutes in, no big deal. Deborah says, love it. Love hearing and seeing this live. Thanks for being here, Deborah. Teresa says, knowing the right timing to do things is ultra important. The still small voice never fails. It doesn't fail. And so it fails when I don't listen to it. Okay. So the third technique I want to talk about tonight is engage in self-care rituals. So this is one that I have implemented deeply. In fact, one of the reasons why I started doing massage is because my doctor told me that I needed to go get massages, that human touch is important. And sometimes I'll kind of cocoon myself in my own self isolation of trying to protect myself or re-energize, and I'll forget that you might need to hug somebody. Like my son and I are not typically huggers. I probably hug him a little bit more, and it's not very often. So it's important for you to have, if physical touch is your love language, which is, I think it's mine. I think mine was physical touch first and then quality time. So if you find yourself, if you guys, maybe I'll do a stream on the five love languages next week. It's close enough to Valentine's Day. I think it'll be really interesting. But just as a little sneak peek of that, the opposite of the love languages, if you're sitting in it, means that you're out of alignment or you're out of balance somewhere. So if your love language is physical touch and you're not getting physically touched, hugging, holding hands, whatever it is, and you're isolated and nobody's touching you, you're out of balance. That's an indicator you're out of balance. If your love language is quality time and you're sitting isolated in your room for days on end and you're not spending quality time with people, you're not spending quality time with your family, you're just isolated and alone, that shows that you're out of balance. So we can definitely talk about that. I think that'll be a good topic for next week. But the self-care ritual, so I I'm actually going to be doing a huge self care ritual as I leave my day job and move into working for myself. My first goal is going to be setting up a routine for me to go to the gym. So it's going to be swimming, which is my inner child work is swimming. When I was a kid, I love swimming. So I tell you all the time, if you're listening to these streams, that you write down all the things that you love to do as a child and then you do those things. So that is something that one of my therapists had mentioned to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gold. Those things that I loved to do as a kid, of course, like I need to be doing those things. So I was very active. I loved gymnastics. I loved doing cartwheels and being on the monkey bars. And I can't remember what the single bar is called, but I would do like flips on it all the time and backflips and gosh, what is that thing called? I don't know what it's called. It's not a pull up bar. Anyways, I was wild on those things. So just thinking about things that even as a young adult, I love snowboarding. So finding time to go out and do those things and really tune into who I am and myself in these self care rituals is helpful. So this is taking time to even meditate. If you want to read something, you can read the Bible, or you can read. There's some great self help books, or there's just great information books out there as well that I would recommend. Learning something new, and or finding a creative hobby to get some of the internal emotions moving and out into something. Art is such a great way to depict how you're feeling on the inside. And so finding those things that you like to do, if you liked playing with Play-Doh, like get some clay or Play-Doh. We do those we do those things as kids and we enjoy them. And I think equally as adults, we forget about that connection and we just need to remember that connection, that we are still that child. We're just kind of this newer version of it. So, here are some self care rituals that I do. So, at least 2 to 3 times a week, I'm taking an Epsom salt bath. I usually throw a little bit of turpentine in it, just maybe like a tablespoon. I just love the smell of it. I might be a weird person. I also put frankincense in my bath, rosemary, bergamot, just smells, perfumed smells that I love that are going to relax. So you want to find stress relief ones. Please don't do this if you haven't done a skin test to see if you're going to have a reaction to it. I'll put a little bit of coconut oil in there, or what else do I put in there? A little bit of baking soda will help to kind of alkalize your skin and make it soft. And sometimes I'll put some dried milk in it. It just depends on how fancy I feel. These are all things I love taking a bath, and so those are all things that it's kind of my go to move. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but just do what feels good for you. If you want a nice, fluffy, bubbly bath, do the bubble bath. If that's going to bring you joy, do the bubble bath. I like doing the Epsom salts because it's helping. Oh, I also do sea salt. So I'll get some dead sea salt. They have huge bags of it. I think it's like $40, somewhere around there on Amazon. And it's like a huge bag of it that it lasts me probably about a good 6 months to 6 to 8 months. But I take frequent baths. Might last you a lot less or a lot longer than it would last me. I love taking baths. I love water. So water is my obviously with swimming, water's my thing. The other thing is every day I have a skincare routine. So I take my makeup off, wash my face, and so I have my morning routine and I have my my evening routine. And so in the morning, I have a certain way that I prepare my face. It's very simple. It's not like extravagant whatsoever, but I do take the time to like hydrate my skin and do that. Other things are meditating. So, meditating is a great self care ritual that you can incorporate into your daily life. It doesn't need to be long, it could be 10 minutes. So, it could be during your lunch break, you just go out and you quiet your mind at work in your car. You just quiet your mind and you could put some music on, or you could just relax and think about nothing. However, you're going to kind of bring your spirit and your mind back into your body. Other things are taking yourself out to like coffee or taking yourself out to eat. Maybe there's something that you like to do. I know that there's cute little bistros around town that I love to do. There's a couple. So here we have this patisserie that has really good confections that they make, like French confections. And then there's another little cute French bistro that also like does similar thing, but it's just in a different environment. So both of those are great places for me to go grab a cup of coffee and maybe a pastry, or maybe if I'm not feeling a pastry, just sitting somewhere and kind of working on whatever I want to work on, or maybe just sit there and think about nothing and look at the beautiful plants. So I'm just looking at finding places that I can go and just kind of chill, maybe even getting a cup of coffee and going on a walk in a flower garden when it's summertime, or walk by the river, however you want to do that. Other self-care things that I do, as I mentioned, are massages. Massages are speaking into that love language for me of having physical touch. So I like to go to the same person. So I find a person that I like and then I just repeatedly go to them. I also do chiropractic adjustments. I feel better when I do a chiropractic adjustment, especially if I can match that with a massage as well. So, doing an adjustment and a massage are both self care rituals that I like to do. I also found that I enjoy doing acupuncture, even though like I hate needles. I'm so needle phobic. Doing acupuncture was actually really helpful to ease some anxiety that I was feeling. I know that for a moment I had really bad anxiety and I was really tense, and I don't know what she did, but she put all the things in and it helped to open up some of the channels. And I would find that when on that bed and just laying there still, I have nothing else to do but to meditate. And a lot of the times, if there's blockages in the certain chi areas that they're putting the needle point in, it will help you to cry. So for me, I have a hard time crying in front of people or even just crying in general because I'm a very strong person. So some people have a lot of strength and some people have a lot of heart. And my strength, just my will is very, very strong. So I'm just a strong, strong woman. And not that I don't have heart, it's just my strength will override my heart any moment because it's a self protection mechanism that I have. So, in order to tear down that strength wall that I put up, even against myself, being able to kind of lay on the bed and work through, like if you go into if you've never been to acupuncture, I'll just give you a little example of how it works. So, you find an acupuncturist that you're willing to work with. You can interview people. I highly advise you to do that because they're working on your energy field. So you find a person that you want to work with, or maybe somebody that is covered on your insurance plan through your health insurance, and which is how I found my gal. She was actually recommended from some of my coworkers. You go in and there's an assessment. So you just talk about like what do you want to achieve with acupuncture, and then let's talk about the frequency that you want to go. So, I went in for stress relief and for helping me kind of grieve through the process that I was going through with the passing of my mother. I didn't start acupuncture until last year. And so you go in, you tell her like some of the physical symptoms that you're going through, you tell her some of the emotional symptoms that you're going through and what you'd like to work on. And she'll kind of take, or he or she will take notes, and then they'll lay you on the bed face up, face down, and then they'll put them in certain pressure points that that you discussed with them. So it's basically the things that you're walking into, telling them about. It's almost this mix of therapy, like talk therapy, and massage, but they're getting into certain areas. So even if it's like a physical ailment that you're having, like my neck was constantly out last year, and so I would get pinches like in the back and everything like that, and she would put the needles in and kind of explain like this is how it works, because your body is completely connected, and so it helps to kind of relieve that stuff. It goes the same for emotional feelings. So if you're saying I'm having a hard time crying, even though I've been through this traumatic experience, they can help you to release that. They'll figure out the spots to relieve that for you. So that is acupuncture. The other thing is doing energy work. So like I said, I purchased a set of tuning forks. So tuning forks can help kind of move the energy around. We're trying to move our energy from being stagnate in our bodies, so our emotional energy included, our mental energy. My mental is always like flowing, 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 and my emotional is kind of stagnate because like the masculine energy inside of me is more active than the feminine energy inside of me. So that feminine energy, that emotional energy, my goal this year is to move that, to get that cleaned up and moving so that it is flowing in tandem with the masculine energy. So energy clearing as well. There's lots of energy coaches out there that do like Reiki healing and other forms of energy work. So do some research and see if that sounds like something that you're interested in. If you are curious about it, I can share what little information I do know. I have had energy work done on me. I I have a saved video of somebody doing just a general energy clearing, and that is kind of expanding your energy out and then, letting the whatever's in there go back into the heavens, back into the spirit world where it belongs. That you don't need to carry it around in you. See if I got some. We'll finish up with some self-care rituals, but I'll get to some of the chat here. Knowing the right timing to do things is ultra important. I read that one. The times I've been most disappointed in myself was not listening to myself or the still small voice on timing. Yes. And Drusa says yes to the 5 love languages. Deborah says slowing it down and taking time to read sounds like a good idea. Yeah, that reading is another one. If you loved reading, I loved reading when I was a child, so that is definitely a self-care ritual that you can do if you find yourself not doing that and that's something that you love to do. Like I've picked up reading myself, and a big part of it is because I want to reconnect with that wonder that you get when you read a book. I love reading fiction, so especially children's fiction. Those are great things. So we talked about energy work, sound healing. You could do, like I said, I'm getting these tuning forks, and there's also sound bowls that you can use to do healing. Some people go to exercise, so they'll choose an exercise. So, like for me, swimming is going to be that top one that is going to be most important to me because it's connecting with that inner child and also it's getting my body moving. I also am taking up ballroom dancing. So, ballroom dancing has been something that I've always wanted to do, but never really committed myself to doing it for whatever reason. But at age 41, here I am. I went to a group ballroom dance social, I guess. I don't know what they're called. And it was really cute. Like all these men are like, I'm like, I have no idea any of the steps, and they're like having to show me in real time on the floor. So I'm committing to going to the beginner lessons that they have, and then going back to the social event, and then having a little like, okay, I can make some moves on the dance floor. These things, I didn't realize it at the moment. I had invited my girlfriend to come with me, and we both had never done ballroom dancing. And, I've danced around or whatever. It's like, it's not any like huge, oh, okay, whatever. But so I was, I was I have a lot of confidence. Like, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I have a lot of confidence that I'm going in and I'm just going to have fun and I'm going to listen and I'm going to be a good follower on for my male counterparts on the dance floor. So I have this like confidence and joy and just inner child like excitement for it. And she was admitting to me that she had some hesitation, that she was hesitating going to this because she didn't know how to do any of it and she wasn't confident, and that could have held her back from really enjoying the night that we had together. So we had a great night together. We had fun dancing. We got some ideas. We got the beginner class. Like, we're ready for that, and we're going for it. So that was a really interesting look at how the human mind can really like that negative talk can really affect how we show up for ourselves and that compassion that we have for ourselves. Um, so those are some of the self-care rituals that I came up with. There's tons more that you can do. You can get really creative with it, but these are just some of the basic things that you can do. So affirmations are also another way to instill like a technique to instill like that worth into you. So like saying, I am worthy, I am enough, I deserve love, I deserve happiness, I deserve peace, and those kind of things. As I mentioned before, we have this water memory in our bodies, and so speaking positively to us in that fashion is helpful and important. And the more that you say it, and the more that you say it, I think the more you'll start to believe it. So that's also important. Embrace your feminine energy. So I was just talking about how, like, the mental thoughts, the overthinking, that is a very masculine energy, and it serves its purpose, and it's fine for it to be there. But if you get taken over and start overthinking, that you will start to stagnate that emotional part of yourself. That everybody needs to be like in that harmony with with themselves, within themselves. So the embracing your feminine energy is embracing like a sensuality, it's embracing creativity, and it's embracing intuition. So this is all like in that lower the sacral area where the womb is on women, and the intuition is in that stomach area. So that's where all of that is kind of residing. And even still, I think we can understand that that energy there, if it's stagnate, you can kind of feel it there. So connecting with your sensuality can be like, for me, I spent the weekend redecorating my room, and my room is I mean, I got a I got a bed frame and it's pink velvet. So, like, most of my stuff in my room is pink. And if it's not pink, it's gold or copper or black or white. And so I have a really like girly, sensuous color scheme in my room. And so that's just what I particularly enjoy. Those are the things that bring me peace and help me to relax. And I've actually been sleeping a lot better now that my room is cleaned and organized than when it had, kind of junk stashes everywhere. And that's just a part of me connecting with my feminine energy. I like to have things organized, it makes me feel good. So when you think about connecting with your feminine energy, you're thinking of things that taste good and then you respond well to it, that look good and then you respond well to it. The sensuality is that five senses. So it's taking care of yourself in a way that feels good to you. So going for if walking 10,000 steps a day feels good to you, that's the sensuality of you expressing that in your life. Other things, so changing your wardrobe. Sorry, my lip is still fat, but it's not as bad as it was last week. Changing your wardrobe to things that make you feel good and make you, when you see yourself, you're like, man, I look great. I'm very pleased with how I look. Not that this is the most important thing, but I feel that if you're going to connect with your emotions and you're going to have these affirmations and you see yourself in that certain way, like, you can rewrite yourself to be however you want to be. And you can do this relatively inexpensively, or you can spend a lot of money on, changing things in your existence. It, for me, it was a couple $100s, and I was able to transform my room into something that was functional, organized, and it makes me feel good now that when I can sleep better. And I already see the positive, oh, I sleep better already. The movement in my room it is more sensual, it is more connected, or I'm more connected to it. And that is a way that you can express your creativity. So your creativity is going to be important in healing this. If you're a woman like me and you're over masculized and overthinking all the time, then these are things that we're looking to kind of revert back to. Like, we want to get back into that feminine nature. I feel that with all of the gender role questions and theories and all that stuff being said, I feel that if you're a woman and you're not in touch with your feminine energy, and or you're a man and you're not in touch with your masculine energy, meaning that it's not the primary thing that you're working in, that we have this inverted disconnect. And I I theorize that this is going on a grander scale, and that there are some things behind that that are actually spiritual in nature, like not in a negative or positive way. It's just there's a spiritual meaning behind it. And the other part of that puzzle is that we also should be in harmony with both of those energies. I feel it's if we are not in touch with both of those and one is stagnate and the other one is overactive, that we're out of balance, we're out of harmony. For a woman, being in her masculine is helpful for a little while, but to be in that forever is harmful. And I see it all the time. I'm in on Facebook, I'm in women's groups, and I mean, I loved statistics in college, and that was one of my favorite classes. And the reason is, like, I love watching trends, I love seeing connecting the dots, and so I have this like overly analytical mind, but I can see this similar problem with women where they're working, overworking, and they're not able to sit in their feminine energy. And part of that is on them, that they don't have healthy enough boundaries to say, no, I'm not doing that. You need to step up, and or having a healthy enough boundary to, even before getting into a relationship like that, like saying to herself, I deserve better than this. You need to step up. So there's a lot of things going on here, so I'm not pointing fingers, but I do want to talk about like having that stagnate feminine energy, the emotional energy, and the spiritual energy, which are both feminine in nature. If you're not able to embrace that, you need to have a deep look into that. And that alternatively, for a male, if you're not touching into your masculine energy and your power in that, whereas like the feminine powers in that feminine energy, the female powers in that feminine energy, if you're not able to embrace that, and it doesn't even matter if you identify as whatever, like if you're out of balance somewhere, it needs attention, it needs your attention, and it needs you to do the inner work to get to that place where you can be balanced and in harmony. This is all like this is my life right now. So creativity, like I said earlier, it can be doing art. It can be doing something like a sport that you love. It can be taking up a new hobby. Like I'm taking up ballroom dancing. So I'm expressing myself in a physical way creatively by taking up this new hobby. So look at the things that you love to do as a child, write a list of them down, and then look to see like which one of these is creative. Or if you're not creative, there's tons of like go and try things out. There's a lot of people that host classes. I used to do it myself. I had a business a few years ago where I would bring people into group projects, and then they would create like chalk signs. And so each person can create their own chalk sign and add their own flair with their own colors. And they would leave with something that they created with their hands. And they were always so delighted. They were like, oh my gosh, I made something beautiful, which is like so game changing if that's something that you're not doing. So for me, for example, the career that I chose is very masculine. lots of thinking, lots of analyzing, lots of planning, go, go, go. So it's easy for me to kind of get stuck in that masculine mind when I just want to be in this feminine feel. And I can feel it in my body of like, I want to be in that feminine feel. I want to be creating and to be, organizing things and making things beautiful. That's what I enjoy doing. Why am I back into this energy again? It's a protective mechanism that I use to avoid having to do this other feminine work and going through all the emotions, because let's face it, emotions are chaotic, they are exhausting, they're fun. People love being around people that are very emotive and share those with people, to a certain degree. So I'm sure there's some people that are like, I don't want to be around that crazy person. But that's how emotions are. They're very quick. You feel them for X number of, you feel them for like 90 seconds and then they're gone. But you can like sit on them and stagnate them too. So we're working on getting those things moving. The sixth technique is healing from the past. So the healing from past hurt is kind of, I've talked a lot about it in the last 3 episodes that I've done. So if you want to go back to those and look at that, but just quickly, it's acknowledging emotional wounds and then allowing yourself to process them. And I went through it really well in Shadow Worth, episode 6. That one definitely touches a lot on this and techniques that you can use. The villain archetype I talked about, it touches on a few things, but it's mostly on this narcissistic side and not on this this deep inner work side. So there is inner work there, but I think that Shadow Worth one was the one that is probably the best to work on with this. Gives you some good ideas. So healing from past hurt is going to help you with healing and reinvigorating that self-worth that you have, that may be affected if you're not practicing self-love on yourself, with yourself. So definitely, if there's some past hurts that you have, there's emotional wounding. I know that one of the people in the chat had mentioned that his mother had passed and he was still having a difficult time with it. So figuring out a way to heal from it to where you can talk about it without, losing it or having a difficult time with it. These are, this is the time to do it. I mean, you can always kick the can down the road, but now's the time to do it. As I mentioned, I think it was in Shadowworth, if you don't hear the spiritual sign of needing to fix it, then it moves into your mind and then it like kind of hits there, and then it's an emotional thing. So it's going to come up one way, it's going to come up in your mind, it's going to come up in your emotions. And if it doesn't get resolved, your emotions don't get resolved, then it starts to affect your body. And once it hits your body, you're kind of, that's like almost the last resort. So we want to get ahead of it. So doing things now, taking the little steps now, it is going to be little steps to start. And then it gets to be faster and faster that you're able to like, oh, this is going on, work through it, heal it, I'm good. So something that may take a year for you to heal from can later be, maybe it takes 4 months. And then the next time that happens, if it happens again next time, then it's like 2 months. Then it's maybe a week. And some people have gotten it down to where it's like within hours, I'm over this really deep emotional wound. So once you start developing these tools within yourself, the faster it becomes. So becomes easier and easier. Prioritize your passions. So we talked a little bit about this, where I am taking up ballroom dancing. So that is something that brings me joy and fulfillment. I left there feeling like I was flying on in the clouds. Like I was just so excited and looking forward to the next time that I was able to go and do some practice footwork and then take that back to the dance floor the next time. So if you have something that lights you up, do that. Find out what that is, go and do that. It feels good. It feels great. Okay, I have a couple more, and the next one is release toxic relationships. And this is really hard if you don't have the boundaries in yourself or like the confidence in yourself to speak up for what you want. But like getting rid of those toxic relationships, it could be family that might be really difficult for you. It could be a long-term friend from childhood and you don't want to get rid of that friendship because you guys have been friends for so long. You've put so many years into this person, and now you're having to let go of them. Or maybe it's a toxic relationship you have with your partner. If the relationship is so toxic and you've been working on establishing healthy boundaries, sorry, I have to drink a little bit more. If you've been establishing healthy boundaries and been doing the work, a lot of the times these toxic relationships will be so out of alignment with you that there's nothing you can do but to separate. And so it is something that does happen if you married the wrong person for the wrong reasons. Sometimes you'll find that you just won't feel in alignment with them or the relationship, and it's something that you may have to let go. And that is a reality that does happen when you start doing this work, because it no longer serves you to be in that relationship. If people are belittling you or making you feel less than or making you question your worth, or making you feel less confident, maybe they're gaslighting you. I always look at it of, are you blaming them or are they really doing it? So one is, are you blaming them so that you avoid having to deal with yourself? So definitely start looking into to framing it in reality. Like, what is the truth, not just the way that I see it, but what is the overall truth of this relationship? And is it serving me? Is there any way that I can figure out that if I had healthy boundaries, if I had a healthy voice, that I'm speaking to them in a way that is showing them that I care about myself? Is there any way to salvage this relationship? Or is this person just simply unable to work with me and they're going to continue to be toxic? You'll definitely want to start taking a look at that and thinking about what that looks like, and then taking some action steps of how am I going to resolve this. The next one is celebrate your achievements. So even if it's a small win, recognize how amazing it is. So you can you could give yourself a treat. Like if you are, let's say that you want to start an exercise routine and you make it 30 days and you're like, oh my gosh, I made it 30 days. This is my goal to do this for 30 days. And now I'm going to treat myself. Maybe I'll go buy a new pair of shoes. Maybe I'll go, get a celebratory drink somewhere. however you want to celebrate that, but definitely looking at yourself of like, congratulations, you did this. I'm so proud of you. And just something that is going to give you some joy and a memory of that moment that you achieved something. Because a lot of people, I think, don't feel like they've achieved things or that they're in any way to be celebrated. This also includes when people give you compliments. So if people are complimenting you and saying sincerely from their point of view, like, hey, thank you so much for your help on whatever it is, or you did really amazing in that situation, whatever it is. Say thank you and mean it. Thank you for recognizing that. I really appreciate that. That makes me feel good that you see me for doing a good job. Thank you. And then like knowing that you did that. Like, hey, I worked my tail off to make that happen. Thank you for seeing that and for congratulating me for it. You don't have to get that crazy. Just, I worked really hard on that. Thank you. But celebrating your achievements, celebrating the things that you're able to accomplish are other ways to for you to recognize in yourself on a bigger level that you are worth it, that you're worth love too. And then finally, my last item that I have here, and then if there's any questions in the chat, pop them in. I have a little bit of time to do some Q&A if you guys have questions. But the next thing is listen to your body. And what do I mean by this? So I think a lot of the times, like if we're like overeating, we're not listening to our body of what it really needs. That a lot of the times when we're like snacking or overeating, we're stressed about something, and maybe we don't even realize that we're stressed about it. But so we're tuning into what our body needs. We're tuning into whether it needs rest, whether it needs nourishment, whether it needs exercise, whether it needs whatever it is. Your body is indicating to you on some level, I need this. I need water. Give me some water, please. Or I need something salty. And just start recognizing those things and listening to it and really tuning in. That's where our emotions are kind of driving us. They're like, they're giving us this indicator of something's happening. The emotional reactions that we're getting are commonly called triggers, but they're emotional responses to something in our environment that we are needing to pay attention to. And so something is heightening that feeling, whether it's anger or whether it's fear or whatever it is. And like, I hate to be the one to break it to you if you don't know it now. Like, fear is a huge driver into how we as a society are controlled. And I'm not just saying like in America, everywhere. Fear is a motivator and it also is a suppressor. So a fear response in your body is going to allow you to be subject to somebody else's control. So as we're doing this self-love practice and these self-love techniques, we are becoming stronger in ourselves to hold authority in ourselves, to hold responsibility for ourselves so that we can have that power back. We don't want it from we don't want to give it to somebody else, i.e. whatever you're giving it to. If it's a partner, if it's the government, whatever it is, like whatever entity is working to control you in that, like we're working to kind of help take that back and clean it out. Jusha said, it's so hard to listen to your body sometimes. Yeah, sometimes it is. And it takes a little bit of practice, but if you're working on meditating and being still, I feel it's a lot easier to hear what your body needs. So it really is taking a time out. It's so funny, like the things that happen to us as a kid or a child are things that we're like doing now. we we want to have a little bit of a timeout so that we can get back to stasis and that we can hear those sounds, because you can't hear it if you're overthinking, if you're rushing and you're overcompensating, if you're exerting too much when you should be listening. It's not serving you. You're not going to hear what your body is trying to tell you. And all the things that I'm doing now, my body's been telling me for the last probably year and a half, like, go do this, go do this. And I haven't done it. And it's like, okay, we're gonna knock you in the knees now. Now what are you gonna do? Now you have to do it a little more determination. It's gonna be harder to get out of that. So these are all really exciting. If you're rewatching this and you get to the point of being here at the end, please share some of your self-care rituals that you like. If I skip some that you didn't hear that you love to do, I would love to see what you guys do to take care of yourself. It could be something really interesting or whatever. Maybe you make fudge. I know I like to can during the summer, and that's usually my meditation time to like really do some thinking because it takes a lot of time. But it's getting to be 6:30 and I am going to sign off. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday. I am going to be live at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, as opposed to my later 4 o'clock hour. So I think that is around 2 o'clock Eastern. And so I would love for you guys to join me then. And I think that's going to be my new time so I don't clash with some of the later podcasts that I like to watch. So take care, everybody, and love yourself. You can do it.